Mom thought she replaced my dad with her creepy BF. She didn't know I still talk to him. Imagine you're 19, and suddenly someone is trying to erase your father from your life, replace him with yourself, and convince everyone that your real dad doesn't exist anymore. But they don't know one thing. You're still secretly in touch with him, and that secret will come out one day. I watched my mom's new boyfriend try to rewrite my childhood, break things that were sacred to me, humiliate me in front of my family, and prove that he was a real man. He thought I would break. But in reality, every attempt he made to erase my father only made me angrier. And then there was a moment when everything got out of hand. Shouting, broken things, shocked relatives, and the truth that could no longer be hidden. I'm Alex, 19 years old, male. My hands are shaking as I type this because I've been holding this in for way too long. My mom, Karen, has been with her boyfriend, Todd, for about a year now, and she acts like he's some kind of upgrade, like he's erased my dad completely. But what she doesn't know, and what would probably make her lose her mind, is that I still talk to my dad every single week. Let me back up. My parents split when I was 15. Dad, Mark, wasn't perfect. He worked long hours as a mechanic and sometimes missed dinners, but he was steady. He taught me how to drive stick, how to patch a tire, how to fix my bike chain. Real stuff. My mom said he was boring, that he lacked ambition. A year later, she was dating Todd, this guy who oozes fake confidence. He's 42, works some vague sales job that no one understands, and struts around like he's the new sheriff in town. Todd gives me the creeps. He's always got these lingering stares, like he's trying to size me up or worse. He makes these jokes about how I'll never measure up to him, calling me junior in this mocking way. One time he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, champ. Your mom's got a real man now." I swear my skin crawled. The worst part is my mom buys it. She eats up every word like it's gospel. Suddenly the rules in the house flipped. My dad used to be the one setting boundaries, making sure I was grounded but still respected. Now Todd's the one laying down the law, and my mom backs him 100%. If I come home 5 minutes late, it's Todd's voice yelling, not hers. If I leave a dish in the sink, Todd's the one slamming cabinets. Meanwhile, my dad's been pushed out like he never existed. Mama doesn't even want me talking to him. She says he's toxic and holding me back. But here's the truth. Dad never stopped being there for me. He calls, texts, even shows up to my games quietly and leaves before anyone can notice. We'll grab burgers after practice, just the two of us. He always tells me, "Don't let anyone rewrite who your dad is, son. You know the truth." I've kept it hidden from Mom because I know if she finds out, it'll be nuclear. Todd especially. He'd probably go off the rails. But lately, it feels like she's testing me, asking if Dad's trusted to poison me against them, dropping hints that she wants me to cut him off for good. I don't know how much longer I can keep this secret. And honestly, part of me wants to blow up. Because if Todd thinks he's replaced my dad, he's about to learn otherwise. Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, don't forget to sub and drop a like if you're enjoying the story. And tell me what you think in the comments. I'll feature the best one in the next video. Todd's little power plays started small, but they've been building. And I can't tell if he's just naturally controlling or if he enjoys trying to break me down. Like last month, he barged into my room without knocking, holding up my jacket. "You think this is acceptable? Smells like cigarettes." I told him it was from hanging out at the diner with my buddy Jake, whose older brother smokes. I don't smoke. But Todd wasn't interested in explanations. He tossed the jacket on the floor and stepped on it with his boot. You want to smell like trash so you can treat your clothes like trash. Then he walked out like he'd just taught me a life lesson. Mom, she laughed, told me Todd was just raising the bar because Dad never disciplined me properly. That one stung. Dad was strict sometimes, sure, but he was never cruel. Todd's not disciplining me. He's flexing, trying to prove he owns the space. It's the little things, too. He rearranged the garage, moving Dad's old toolbox into the corner behind a stack of junk like it was clutter. That red Craftsman box has been around since I was a kid. I remember sitting on it while Dad showed me how to replace spark plugs. Todd doesn't know that, or maybe he does and just doesn't care. To him, it's just another reminder that this used to be Dad's house. The boiling point came 2 weeks ago. I was FaceTiming Dad in the backyard, just talking about my car, a beat-up Honda we've been fixing up together. I thought Mom and Todd were out. Next thing I know, the sliding door slams open. Todd storms out, red in the face, phone in his hand like he's caught me cheating on a test. "Who you talking to?" he barked. My heart stopped. I tilted the screen down, but Dad's voice carried through. "Hey, son, you there?" Todd yanked the phone out of my hand. "Unbelievable," he muttered, then yelled toward the kitchen. "Karen, your son's sneaking around with him again!" Mom came running, her expression twisted with fury I hadn't seen since the divorce. She hissed, "Alex, after everything I said, you're still letting him poison your mind?" I wanted to yell to tell her Dad wasn't poisoning anything. But before I could, Todd hurled my phone onto the patio. The screen cracked on impact, shards glittering like ice. That was the moment, watching him break something that wasn't even his. It wasn't about the phone. It was about control, about erasing Dad, piece by piece until I gave in. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just picked up the phone carefully, ignoring Todd's smug look, and thought, you can't erase someone who's still alive. And Dad is still in my corner. But I also knew something else. This secret war couldn't stay hidden forever. Todd had drawn first blood. After Todd smashed my phone, things didn't just simmer down, they escalated. That's the thing with guys like him. The second you don't crumble, they double down. A week later, Mom insisted we all go to this family cookout at her sister's place. Normally, I'd fake sick to avoid spending more time with Todd, but Dad had texted me from his old flip phone. He'd be driving by the park next to the neighborhood that day. Just knowing he'd be nearby made me agree to go. The cookout was awkward from the start. Todd strutted around like he owned the family, flipping burgers on the grill even though no one asked him to, correcting people's stories and calling me sport loud enough for everyone to hear. Every time I grabbed a soda or said a word, he'd find some way to cut me down. Maybe lay off the sugar, champ. You're already looking soft. Stuff like that, designed to humiliate me in front of people who didn't know the full story. Then came the moment that lit the fuse. My cousin Joey asked about my car project, Dad's old Honda. I started explaining how Dad had taught me to replace the alternator, and Todd cut in with this booming laugh. "Oh, you mean the junker? Kid thinks he's a mechanic now 'cause he plays with wrenches. Mark was always good at wasting time on lost causes. Guess it runs in the family." I swear, my chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. Talking about Dad like that in front of everyone, it wasn't just disrespect, it was erasure. He wanted to reduce everything my dad gave me into a punchline. I snapped. At least he taught me something real. Not like you, standing around pretending to matter. The whole yard went silent. Todd's face turned this deep shade of red, the kind you only see on drunk uncles about to throw punches at Thanksgiving. He slammed the spatula down so hard it clattered on the grill, then stomped toward me. "Say that again!" he growled, chest puffed, eyes wide. I stood my ground, but my heart was pounding in my throat. Before I could even respond, Todd shoved me, hard, right in front of my mom, my cousins, everyone. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a lawn chair. "Enough!" Mom screamed, grabbing Todd's arm, but he shrugged her off like she was nothing, still glaring at me. My aunt tried to step in, but the tension was already nuclear. Family was whispering, kids staring, and I realized this wasn't just between me and Todd anymore. Everyone had just witnessed him cross the line, and in that moment, I didn't fight back. Not because I was scared, but because I knew something he didn't. Dad was only a block away, and I had a feeling Todd's time playing King of the Castle was running out. After Todd shoved me at the cookout, my whole body was shaking. Not from fear, but from this mix of rage and anticipation. I knew Dad was close by, and for the first time since Mom started dating Todd, I wanted the two of them in the same place. I slipped away under the excuse of getting some air and texted Dad, cracked phone screen and all, "Come to Aunt Lisa's. It's time." He didn't even hesitate. Just sent back, "On my way." 5 minutes later, while Todd was still stomping around the yard acting like he'd won something, Dad's old Chevy pulled up. That sound, the rumble of his truck, hit me harder than anything Todd could throw. It was like a reminder. I'm still here. I never left. Dad got out with grease-stained jeans, hands rough from work, eyes locked on me first. He gave this little nod, like, "You okay?" I nodded back. Then Todd noticed him. The smirk on Todd's face was disgusting. Well, well, if it isn't Mark the mechanic. Surprised your junker made it this far without falling apart. Dad didn't flinch. He just walked up, calm but steady, and said, "You put your hands on my son?" The yard went dead silent again. You could hear a soda can fizzing on the picnic table. Todd puffed his chest, looking around at the audience like this was his stage. "Your son needs a man in his life, not a washed-up grease monkey. Maybe if you'd done your job, I wouldn't have to." That's when Dad's voice dropped into that low, dangerous tone I'd only ever heard once before, back when a drunk guy tried to pick a fight with him outside a gas station. "You don't touch my boy! Ever again!" Todd laughed, but it was the kind of laugh that cracks halfway through. He stepped forward, close into that I thought they'd collide. "What are you gonna do about it, old man?" For a split second, I swear Dad almost swung, his fists clenched, jaw tight. But instead, he did something worse. He looked Todd up and down, then turned to the family. "This the man you all think is better than me? The one who throws kids around and smashes phones because he's scared of being replaced? Go ahead, call that an upgrade." My aunt gasped. My cousin stared at the ground. Even Mom froze, torn between fury and embarrassment. "Todd?" He completely lost it. His face twisted, and he grabbed a lawn chair, hurling it across the yard. It crashed against the fence with a metallic bang, making the kids scream. Mom finally rushed forward, screaming at both of them, "Stop it! Stop it right now!" But it was too late. The mask had slipped. Everyone had just seen Todd for what he really was. And me? I stood there, heart pounding, finally realizing Todd wasn't just trying to replace my dad. He was terrified of him. I didn't post right after the cookout because my head was spinning. But here's what happened after Dad called Todd out in front of everyone. The cookout basically imploded. Todd stormed inside, slamming the door so hard it rattled the windows. Mom chased after him, leaving the rest of us standing there in stunned silence. My Aunt Lisa pulled me aside, whispering, "Alex, honey, you okay?" I nodded, but my insides were still vibrating from adrenaline. Dad just squeezed my shoulder, calm as ever, like I got you. An hour later, we were back home. That's when the real explosion hit. Todd went off in the kitchen, screaming so loud the neighbors probably heard. "You humiliated me! You and your deadbeat father!" He slammed a glass into the sink, shattering it. Mom was crying, begging him to calm down, but Todd was beyond reason. Then he turned on me. "If you ever disrespect me like that again, I'll—" He stopped himself, but the way he clenched his fist said everything. My heart was pounding, but instead of backing down, I said the one thing guaranteed to break him. "You'll never be my dad. You'll never be him." That was it. Todd grabbed a photo frame from the counter, the last picture of Mom, Dad, and me from before the divorce, and smashed it against the floor. Glass everywhere, Dad's smile staring up through the shards. Mom gasped like that was the real betrayal, not him laying hands on me in front of family. That's when I realized Todd wasn't just insecure. He was obsessed with erasing Dad completely. And if Mom couldn't or wouldn't see it, I'd have to make her. So I started planning. Not some wild scheme with money or hacking or whatever. Something personal, symbolic. Something Todd could never recover from. The opportunity came quicker than I expected. A week later, Mom invited family over for dinner. Her attempt to smooth things over. Todd strutted around like nothing had happened, pouring wine and making fake jokes. Everyone was tense, but they were playing along. That's when I stood up, pulled out my cracked phone, and connected it to the Bluetooth speaker in the living room. "Hey everyone," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "You should hear what Todd really thinks about this family." And then I hit play. Because what Todd didn't know was that after the cookout, I started recording him. Every insult, every threat, every time he trashed my dad when he thought no one else was listening. I had minutes of him calling me useless, mocking Mom's family, and admitting he only sticks around because Karen makes life easy. The living room went dead silent. Todd's own voice filled the air like poison. My mom's face went white. My aunt covered her mouth. Todd lunged for the speaker, but Dad's voice came through the recording next. "Don't touch my boy ever again!" The irony was brutal. Todd, the man who tried to erase Dad, had just been silenced by him. I swear, for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I felt control. The second that recording ended, Toad's mask shattered completely. "You little snake," he roared, lunging across the room. He knocked over a chair, tripped on the corner of the rug, and still managed to grab the Bluetooth speaker, yanking it from the shelf. He hurled it at the wall so hard the drywall cracked. Pieces of plastic scattered across the floor. Mom screamed, "Todd, stop!" But he was gone, lost in his rage. His face was bright red, veins popping in his neck. He shoved the dining table, sending glasses and plates crashing. Wine spilled like blood across the carpet. My little cousins started crying, clinging to their mom. And me? I didn't move. I stood there with my cracked phone still in my hand, heart pounding but steady. He could break the house apart, but the damage was already done. Everyone had heard him. Everyone knew. Then he turned back to me, pointing like a madman. "You think you are clever? You think you can humiliate me in front of my woman?" He looked at Mom with wild eyes. "Karen, tell him! Tell him I'm the man here!" But Mom didn't say a word. She just stared at the broken frame on the floor. The one he'd smashed days earlier, Dad's face staring up through the glass. Her lips trembled, but nothing came out. That silence destroyed him more than I ever could. Todd started pacing, muttering under his breath. Then out of nowhere, he grabbed his coat and stormed out the front door, slamming it so hard the pictures rattled on the wall. We all just stood there stunned, listening to his car roar off down the street. No one ate dinner after that. The family left in silence, and I spent an hour sweeping up glass while Mom sat at the table staring at nothing. She finally whispered, "You shouldn't have done that, Alex." But her voice was flat, empty. I didn't respond, because for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a kid being scolded. I felt like the only adult in the room. That night I texted Dad. It worked. He's exposed. But here's the thing. I didn't realize yet how far Todd would go to get control back. The meltdown at dinner wasn't the end. It was the start of something uglier. I thought after the dinner blow-up, Todd would crawl away and lick his wounds. I underestimated him. Guys like Todd don't just back down. They come back nastier, like cornered animals. 2 nights later, around midnight, I woke up to this loud thunk. At first, I thought it was a raccoon knocking over trash cans, but then I heard it again, closer, against my window. I peeked through the blinds and saw him, Todd, standing in our yard, throwing rocks at my room. My stomach dropped. He looked drunk, swaying, muttering. The porch light caught his face, twisted, eyes glassy, like he wasn't fully there. I cracked the window. "What the hell are you doing?" I whispered. He grinned, teeth bared. "You think you beat me, Junior? You think your little recording makes you a man? You're nothing! You'll always be nothing." Then he hurled another rock, this one shattering the garden light. I backed away and grabbed my phone, ready to call Dad, or the cops. But before I could, Mom rushed out the front door in her robe, yelling, "Todd, stop! You're scaring him!" And Todd just laughed. "Scaring him? Good. Maybe it'll finally make him respect me." Then he staggered up to the porch and pounded on the door like he owned it. That was the final straw. I dialed Dad. He picked up on the second ring, and before I could explain, he said, "I'm on my way." By the time Dad's truck pulled up, Todd had knocked over 2 trash bins, ripped one of Mom's flower pots out of the ground, and was screaming about how this was his house now. Neighbors' lights flicked on. People were peeking out their windows. Dad didn't even hesitate. He walked straight up, grabbed Todd by the collar, and yanked him off the porch. Todd stumbled, swung wildly, missed. Dad pinned him against the fence, his voice low but deadly serious. "Come near my son again, and you won't like what happens." Todd spat back, "You think you can scare me?" But his voice cracked, betraying him. Mom was sobbing by then, begging both of them to stop. The neighbors were watching like it was some late-night soap opera come to life. Finally, Todd wrenched himself free, snarled at me, and stomped off into the night. The yard was trashed. Broken pots, scattered garbage, glass glinting in the grass. Mom sat on the porch steps, shaking. Dad put a hand on my shoulder, steady and calm. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "He's going to try something else." And he was right. Todd wasn't just angry anymore. He was humiliated. And a man like that? He'd burn the whole house down before he admitted defeat. After that midnight showdown, the house was tense in a way I can't even describe. Mom walked on eggshells, pretending Todd's outburst was just stress. I kept waiting for her to finally snap out of it, but she clung to him like if she admitted the truth, her whole world would collapse. Then came the blow-up finale. It was my cousin Emma's birthday. Just a simple backyard party, nothing fancy. I didn't even want to go, but Dad convinced me. "Show your face, stand tall, don't let him run you off." So I went, and of course Todd showed up too, swaggering in like nothing had happened. And the second I saw him, I felt my stomach twist. But this time, I wasn't scared. I had my ace in the hole. Halfway through the party, Todd started running his mouth again, loud enough for everyone to hear. Kids these days don't know respect. They think they can go behind their mother's back, sneak around with deadbeat dads, and still get away with it. His eyes locked on me. I didn't flinch. I stood up, pulled my cracked phone from my pocket, and raised my voice so the whole yard could hear. Funny thing, Todd. You keep calling Dad a deadbeat, but guess who's been paying the bills you brag about covering? Guess who's been quietly fixing the family's mess while you run your mouth? I hit play. This time it wasn't just insults I had recorded. A few nights earlier, when Todd was drunk and ranting on the porch, I caught him admitting something darker. Karen's nothing without me. I could walk out tomorrow and she'd be begging. Truth is, I only stick around because it's easy. She does the cooking, the cleaning. Hell, I don't even pay half the bills. The words echoed across the yard. Mom's face crumpled like she'd been punched. The whole family froze. And Todd? He went berserk. He charged at me, eyes wide and shoving their chairs. But before he could lay a hand on me, Dad stepped in. One clean move. He shoved Todd back, hard, sending him stumbling into the cake table. Frosting smeared down his shirt, candles toppled, kids screamed. It would have been funny if it wasn't so ugly. Todd lost it completely. He started swinging at Dad, but Dad just blocked, calm and steady, never once throwing a punch back. The neighbors rushed over, someone yelled about calling the cops, and in the chaos, Todd finally tripped over a chair and went down flat on his back. Silence. Dad looked down at him and said, "You're done." Then he turned his back and walked toward me, putting a hand on my shoulder. That image, Dad walking away, Todd lying there in front of everyone, burned into my brain. The cops came, took statements. Todd tried to spin it, yelling about how I was poisoning the family, but no one was buying it. Not after what they'd just heard with their own ears. Mom didn't defend him this time. She just stood there, pale, shaking like her whole illusion had finally shattered. By the end of the night, Todd was gone. Out of the house. Out of our lives. And the best part, he wasn't just defeated. He was humiliated, exposed in front of everyone he'd tried so hard to impress. That's the revenge I wanted. Not fists, not money, truth. The kind of truth that sticks like tar, that people whisper about for years. Now it's just me, Mom, and Dad figuring out where we go from here. I don't know if Mom and Dad will ever reconcile, and honestly, I don't care. What I do know is this. Todd thought he replaced my dad, but Dad never left. And no one ever will. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and like it. You can also watch more shocking stories in the playlist.